Hey everyone, it's Monica. Welcome back to Homeschool Voices. In today's video, I'm going to tell you why I'm preparing my kids for life, not for college. Let's just start by saying that I really do believe if you prepare your kids for life, then they will also be prepared for college. But I think there is a difference between saying, I want to prepare my kids for college, or I want to make sure that they have that option, and saying, my main focus is preparing them for life. I'm going to address this in the way that I think that most people think about it. So the idea that I'm going to prepare my kids for college, for most people, means that you are going to take a certain amount of accredited courses and your kids have to get certain grades so that you can put it on their transcript. And it may even mean that there is some accreditation body that is putting a rubber stamp of approval on your child's transcript. For me, I really want to make sure that my kids are prepared for life. So what does that mean to me? That means that my kids can read really well and are well read. I think being well read just prepares you to be a more empathetic person, to have a large vocabulary, and to just have a lot of ideas in your head that you've wrestled with. I want my kids to be able to write well. If for no other reason than when they really want something or they want to convince somebody of something, they can do it effectively. I want my kids to be able to have a solid understanding of at least middle school math. I want my kids to have an understanding of finance, the kind of finance that will actually help them thrive as adults. I want them to understand car loans and home loans and investing and the stock market and all of those kind of things. I want my kids to understand basic human psychology, some philosophy. I want them to understand the United States Constitution and the history of it and what led up to that point. I want them to understand major Supreme Court cases and laws that affect them. When you start to create a priority list of the things that are important to you, then what you're going to find is if your main goal is to prepare for college and you're worried about checking this box and checking that box and checking that box, what can happen is that those other priorities, like the kind of things that I listed that are actually really important to me, they get relegated to if I have time. And what happens is I don't ever have extra time. And that's what happened when I was with a charter school very briefly about a year ago. I found that we were spending so much time making the charter school happy. And this is the same for if somebody's, main goal is to get into college. If all of their time is checking all those boxes and making the colleges happy, then they're not attending to those personal priorities that are actually really important. That brings me to another really important point. I'm in California, and I think this is the case for a lot of people, but there's this idea in California that to get into college, your kids have to have all of the A to G approved classes completed and have a satisfactory grade on their transcript, and it's best to have it done through some sort of body that accredits it, like a charter school. This idea that you have to follow a very specific kind of educational course in order to get your kids into college just isn't true, not even in California. So about 6 to 9 months ago, I contacted 5 state universities, 5 community colleges, and 5 private schools. All the state universities, they do like to have the A to G requirements fulfilled, but they all have this extra option for enrollment that does not require A to G, and some of them specifically say, hey, there are some homeschoolers that don't really fit these requirements, and so there's another path. There's also the community college path, which never required those A to G requirements, and there's also private schools, which have a whole variety of different requirements, and they're much more willing to look at a unique individual that did not follow a kind of cookie cutter approach to education. My concern with approaching things like this is it completely alters your kid's childhood experience. So especially in the high school years, and for a lot of people even in the middle school years. So as they are going through their high school years, they are less flexible, they are home all the time, or they're in front of a computer all the time, and they're spending copious amounts of time on these classes they're not developing themselves as unique individuals. They're not really learning skills that they can use as an adult. And, if anything, they're learning how to write. But I mean, as we're seeing, a lot of colleges across the country are requiring remedial writing courses. So I'm not even sure that your average kid is learning to write very well. So a lot of their time is being used up. Whereas if you want to prepare them for life, you're going to have a much more holistic approach to their education and their whole childhood experience. So, for me, that means making time to get out and see friends and being flexible and taking advantage of all the wonderful things that you can take advantage of as a homeschooler if you don't lock yourself up in a very rigid schedule. Ultimately, colleges just want to know, hey, is this kid going to be a good fit for this university? And here's the things that we want to see. So if you follow a more eclectic, unique, individualized approach for your child, you can issue a parent-issued transcript that is accurate and truthful, that speaks in the language of universities, but it doesn't mean that you have to actually copy a public school paradigm and implement that in your homeschool. You can actually have a situation where you are doing things very differently. So let me give you an example. What if your child was very well read a lot of classics, is able to read quickly, retain information well, and able to write a solid 5-page paper quickly and to do a good job? I would say that that child has the skills that a child who went through an AP language arts type class would have. So I think it's accurate to say that that child took an AP language arts class and that they received whatever grade truly reflects their ability, right? Because you don't want to misrepresent what your child is capable of doing and has done. It doesn't have to be a curriculum, that you followed in a specific amount of time. They want the end result, which is a kid who is well read, who can read quickly, can retain information, and can write well, and can do it relatively quickly, so that they will succeed in the college environment. But to achieve these goals does not require that you lock your kids up. I don't mean literally lock them up, but like get them stuck in this very, very rigid set of courses that they are, spending all of their time on. And so this for me is why I really want to prepare my kids for life, and why I always advise people that you need to sit down and really think carefully about what your priorities are, so that those things that are important to you when your child is 18, you have confidence that you have either, shared your values on things, or you have taught your kids the things that you think that they need to be taught, that they've learned the skills that you think they need to learn. And even more importantly, that they have a chance to develop themselves as unique individuals. This is another problem with the college pipeline, where you follow this very cookie cutter approach that a lot of colleges, it kind of makes their job easier. That's why that they give you the impression that that is the only way, but it's not if you reach out and ask them. But a big problem with that is that these kids have very little time outside of their coursework. So they're not developing interests and skills and knowledge sets that are unique and that help them develop as a unique person. And that to me is very, very problematic, because these years, these high school years, have the potential to be transformative. These kids have so much energy and so much passion and so much enthusiasm. And my concern, for my kids, is that their candle would just die out, and they would learn to they would come to hate learning, and they wouldn't really want to do anything other than just leisure activities and entertainment, because they associate learning and the acquisition of skills as torturous and miserable and pointless. So for me, that is why I am preparing my kids for life, rather than having my main priority be preparing them for college. I'd really love to hear what you guys have to say on this topic. I think that there's a wide variety of views, and I think it could be a really interesting discussion. So tell me what you think below. In the meantime, I hope that you like this video. Please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And happy homeschooling, and have a great day.